concussion coming off that thing standing right here.
If you need a reliable subcompact handgun that gives you 40 Smith & Wesson firepower with respectable mag capacity, Glock 27 just might be your gun. Here's why.
Is that your first time running the 27?
No, I've done it before, but it's been a while.
Alright, what's up guys? Doomsday Brothers here. Just me, Josh, today. Alright, Glock 27. Glock. It's a legend in the firearms industry. Everybody knows a Glock. Everyone's seen them around. You probably know a lot about it already, but figured it's about time we go ahead and do a little review of our own on it. Give you our experiences that we've had, what I like about it, and maybe even some things that I don't like so much. So here you go. Here's some miscellaneous data. Go ahead and pause it on that if you want to check out that. I'm not going to really focus on it much throughout this little review here. Mostly just talk about the negatives and positives. So getting right into it. First and foremost, Glock reliability. Obviously, the Glocks are very well known for being pretty much indestructible. You've probably seen all sorts of torture tests on the internet, on TV shows, and you know, I'm not going to get into how legitimate all those tests are or aren't, but needless to say, it's a very reliable firearm. This 27 right here, I've put hundreds of rounds through it, no problem, not a single malfunction whatsoever. So uber reliable. I would have no problem betting my life on it, and honestly, that reliability is one of the biggest things that the Glock has going for it. Because they are so prevalent, because so many people have these guns, they're very customizable. And as you can see right here, this Glock, it's not exactly stock. Most obvious, it's had a Duracoat job. It's got a matte black slide on it. And this is the Coyote Brown color Duracoat. Pretty simple, easy job. It's got night sights on it. It's a nice, easy upgrade. A lot of people like putting night sights on their Glocks, especially if they're using it for a concealed carry, self-defense firearm. Other things, I like this extended grip right here. Makes it so that you can get all 3 fingers on there. Otherwise, with my large hands, I definitely can't. And it's really not that comfortable without this for me. This is the Pachmayr grip. I'm not generally the biggest fan of these rubber grips, just because your hands get a little bit sweaty. They can get kind of slippery, and they're spongy, which some people like the feel of that, but I don't think it's necessarily ideal for accuracy and stability. So they're okay, but the reason I have that on here is there is this grip force adapter that I have on the back here. That basically just helps to change the grip angle a little bit, and we'll talk more about that. But I like what this does for the grip angle. Makes it a little bit easier for me to shoot this gun, and because of the way that this thing is cut right here, it's kind of uncomfortable on your hands if you don't have something to pad it. So that's why I have that Pachmayr grip on there. Oh, what else? Grip tape. You can put that on pretty much anything. Here's the extended slide stop, slide release. I really like that. Makes it a little bit easier to get a little purchase on there. Release that slide when you're ready to put another one in a battery. One of the biggest upgrades on this little guy here is the Lasermax. So as you can see right there, the guide rod has been replaced with a laser. Nice thing about these, they come from the factory zeroed, and because they replace the guide rod, you'll never need to adjust them, and I found that to be true. They stay zeroed very well. I'm not going to be shooting 50 yards out with a laser, but for your basic self-defense and whatnot, that laser's going to be right on. Point of aim, point of impact, gets the job done, and it's also got that strobing laser, which is it's a tactical laser, if you want to call it that. Just helps you to identify it, and if you're outside and it's a real bright day, you might not really be able to see it at all. I do like that you're not putting anything onto a rail or anything like that, so that it's you don't have anything getting in the way or changing the dynamics of your firearm in any way. Your ergos aren't going to be changed. The weight isn't affected too much. It is a little bit heavier, and I have also noticed that it makes the spring slightly more robust, I should say. If you have trouble racking a slide, that might not be a good thing for you to upgrade to. There's so many things you can upgrade with a Glock just because they're so common, and there's so many third-party manufacturers that make things for them. Also, a lot of people like to mess with the triggers and whatnot. There's some cheap drop-in replacements that you can put in there and ease your trigger, shorten it a little bit. I didn't bother with that. For a concealed carry firearm, stock is just fine for me, and I like the way they break already. Glocks are generally known for having a pretty low bore axis. You'll notice some other manufacturers are they ride a little bit higher, keep your muzzle flip regulated to some extent at least, so that's a positive. I like how low they keep the bore in a Glock to bring it out and not have to worry about any kind of manual safeties or additional moving parts that could possibly go wrong. Real safe design, real solid and simple as can be, and I really like that about it. Also the 27, it's real compact, just over an inch wide. I think it's around 5 inches long. You can check it on there. Oh, it's less than that. 6.49 inches long, 4.17 high. So dimensions are nice for it. If you add this extended grip here, it does add a little bit to the height, obviously, but it's a very concealable firearm. Along with that, the mag capacity is actually still real nice, considering this 27 is chambered in the 40 Smith & Wesson, as you can see, which is a larger round than 9, obviously. And I actually like it for a self-defense round. This is a law enforcement round. As many of you know, it was designed after the FBI was using those low recoil 10 millimeters. They were redesigned, and law enforcement's been using them for a long time. We won't get too much into the history on that, but that's for another video. But yeah, 9 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson in a subcompact platform. That's a lot of firepower, a lot of bang for your buck there. And Glocks are well known for setting a nice standard for mag capacity in a lot of their guns. They do a great job. Their mags are real solid. And it does have a loaded chamber indicator. A lot of people will say that the Glock doesn't, but this is a dummy round, by the way. As you can see here, it does pop out a little bit, and you can feel that with your hand, and you can also see that it's protruding a little bit off of the slide. Loaded chamber indicator / extractor. So there's that. Glock 27 takedown, real nice and simple, just like pretty much any other Glock. You'll use the takedown levers, which I didn't mention before. They also are the on and off switch for the Lasermax. But yeah, standard takedown, pull the trigger, simultaneously pull down both sides of the takedown lever as you pull back the slide slightly, and it comes right off. There's your recoil spring and the Lasermax. You see how it just drops in right there and replaces your factory rod and spring, and then the barrel comes right out. And enough of that. That's easy. You've seen that a million times. The laser does have to be put in a certain way when you put it back in, just as a heads up. If you spring for one of those, and then slides right back on, and you're back together. That's all there is to it. So takedown, simple as can be. So let's get on to the negatives. So there aren't a lot of them, and a lot of these negatives are subjective as well. It just depends on you yourself, how you shoot, what you like. First thing, for me, a negative is the grip angle. For me, the way I grip it, it kind of likes to point into the sky a little bit. I've noticed that I really have to strain my wrists a little bit, my arm, to get it down and get those sights aligned. It's not as comfortable as I would like it to be stock. Hence I added this grip force adapter here, which helps to bring the grip angle down a little bit. Some people, that might not be an issue, but I do know a lot of people complain about the grip angle on a Glock, especially these Gen 3s that don't have adjustable back straps. Grip force adapter. The subcompact one, they basically just chopped off the one that's built for the full size, which is why I needed that extra padding on the back there with that Packmeyer grip. When it comes down to that grip angle, for me, is not ideal, and it's a negative when it comes to Glocks. Second one, they're ugly. I don't know. I hesitate to say that because at times I look at them and I just kind of think to myself, you know, there's kind of a rugged utilitarian beauty to them. But then I double check myself and think again, you know what, that's kind of an ugly gun. It just kind of depends on the time that I look at it. I look at it right now, it looks alright, but I'll look at it tomorrow and I think it's just ugly as can be. But they're simple, they're blocky, they're square, they're plasticky. You know, I mean, there's not a lot to it. But, you know, some people like that. So, you know, that's a matter of opinion. you know what, they're awesome and they work, so whatever, that's not the biggest deal. Now the controls, especially on these Gen 3s, they have been upgraded a little bit in the Gen 4s, are not to my liking necessarily. The mag release, again, you really got to make sure you get over there and press it in all the way. The Gen 4s are much bigger, a little bit easier to feel and to press. Those have been upgraded as well, but these Gen 3s, you know, they could be better. I like the way the trigger works for me. It's kind of a, it's a 2-stage, 5.5 pound trigger that breaks pretty crisp and nice for me, but it does have a plasticky feel to it. It's not a real crisp metallic trigger that a lot of people would like, which I like. So that's a negative, but you know what, it works. I don't mind the trigger at all. It gets the job done. I can shoot well with it, and that's the most important thing. Besides that, they're not ambidextrous, obviously. These are definitely built for a right-hand shooter. Everything's on the right mag release. The slides stop. The Gen 4s, again, you can reverse that mag release. Next negative here, it's got a short grip, basically. Without these extended magazines here, if you take the regular base plate for the magazines, put it back on there, it's real short. I mean, that's basically what it is. For me, I've got large hands. I can barely get 2 fingers on there, and that second finger is even hanging off a little bit. One thing to keep an eye on, if you do get these, depending on where your hand rests. I don't have this problem, but a lot of people who have shot this gun, it pinches their fingers, and I've even seen it cut their fingers. So that's definitely not a good thing for me. Where my fingers lined up, they line up just right on this grip. I've never had it pinch me at all. This is a little gun. It's a lightweight, which is a great thing. But what comes along with that 40 Smith & Wesson, it's a little snappy.
Use that trigger
you know, it's a hotter round than the 9mm. It's a higher velocity than the 45. Not as much kick, but it's snappy.
There you go.
And, I don't mind shooting it at all. I think it shoots great. But for a lot of people, they'll shoot this thing and they'll be like, oh, it's kind of vicious. It's a little more than I would like to shoot comfortably, and they don't enjoy shooting it. It is a little bit more to manage than a 9mm or a full-size Glock for sure. Despite some minor gripes regarding ergonomics, controls, and aesthetics, the Glock 27 is a lightweight, compact, reliable option with a hard-hitting cartridge and backed by a proven company. I would not hesitate to bet my life on any of my Glocks.
High, left, right. It's impossible to see it.
Look at the laser following me there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm just general vicinity with this thing. Had no idea where I was shooting at the whole time.
Well, you lost as usual.
You're gay. Whose group was better with the scar?
Shoots nice though.
Whose group was better?
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
I have video evidence.
Dude, steel does not count.
I have video
Wolf
evidence.
does not count. That's like just throwing craps, man.
Sure.
Shooting steel, just throwing craps. You don't know what you're gonna get out of that.
Sure.